and well, today we are going to be going through all the answers from the functions assessment test in the previous video. Okay, so let's go onto our Jupyter notebook and go through the answers from the previous assessment test. See you there. Okay, so here I am at my Jupyter notebook, and the title of the answers should say Functions Assessment Test Answers. And basically it's the same as the assessment test workbook, except I put in the answers, okay? So obviously our first section was making simple functions, and the first question was to write a function that checks the length of any string or list, okay? And here I said the len function might come in handy over here. So if you're not sure what the len function does, you can check out this website for more information. So if I click on this and go and check, here it says Python len. You can, if you want to return, if you want to get a value from len, and then if we run this, we can see that for this one over here, so if we see for this little bracket over here, there's no elements in this list yet, so the length would be 0, okay? So here there are 3 elements, so it says the length is 3, and also here it works with tuples as well, so it says there's 3 elements over here, so it says the length is 3 again. And then here you can also calculate the length of a range. So here it says the length of the range 1 to 10 is 9. Okay, so you can use this on lists and tuples and strings. So here is a string, and our test string is empty right now. So the length of the test string would be 0. And then again, and now our test string is Python, so the length of our test string is 6, and so on and so forth. So let's go back to our assessment test, and here's my solution. As you can see, it's really short, so it's not that long, because all we need to do was use the len function, and here my parameter was user input, okay? So they could input a list or a tuple or anything, okay? So here I put print because I want to print out the length, not just calculate it. I want to print the length of the user input. So first I need to run this, and it gives me 20. So if I try this on a list, because it will work on a list, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so there's 5 elements, it gives me 5. And now I'm going to try it on a tuple. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I still get 5, okay? So it works on a tuple, a list, and a string, okay? So not only lists or strings, a tuple, a list, and a string. Now, for question 2, we had to write a function that turns a word into a Pig Latin word. And remember, a Pig Latin word is, Pig Latin is putting the first letter at the end of the word if the word starts with a vowel. And then if it doesn't start with a vowel, you can put the first letter at the end of the word, and after you have done that, you need to add a at the end, okay? So here, as you saw, a moved to the end because it started with a vowel, and W moved to the end, except we added a after that because this word started with a W, and that isn't a vowel. So here is my code, and first I had to use a parameter called word. So here I said the first letter is equal to word at index 0. So that obviously means the first letter because that's index 0. So here I put in my if statement, and it says if the first letter is in the string of vowels. So this is a string of vowels, A, E, I, O, and U. So if the first letter is in this string of vowels, then I defined a variable called pigword is equal to the word, all the letters except for the first one, plus the first letter. So what I'm trying to say here is, so my pig word is equal to, and then let's say our word was apple. What it would do is, what I'm trying to say here is select all the letters from the second letter to the end, and then add the first letter, so in this case A, and then move it to the end. Okay, so it gives PPLEA, so plea. Okay, and then I want to return the pig word. And after that, we've got our else statement. So if the first letter is not in the string of vowels, what I want to do is, so if the first letter is not in the string of vowels, our pig word will equal to the words from the second letter to the end. So let me just demonstrate that. So let's type in word again. So from the second letter to the end, so that would be odd. And then we need to add the first letter. So the first letter is obviously W. So I'll select that and move it to the end over here. So now we've got odd, but after that we need to add A. So I need to add A over here. So there we go. I've got odd way. So that's my pig word if the word starts with a consonant and not a vowel. And then obviously I want to return the pig word. So if we check it again, so let me just run this on this. They give the same. So let me try this on different words. So I'm going to put in spam, pamze, and then if I put in eggs, I get GGSE, so gz. So that those aren't actual words, they're pig Latin words. So for our third question, we had to write a function that uses a for and while loop to count down from 5 and then say blast off as soon as the countdown passes 0. So this was the expected output: 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and 0. And then we had to say blast off. So here, this is actually a very simple function, even though it may look as complex as the pig Latin one. So here, my function was called countdown, and I didn't have any parameters because all it did was execute a for loop. And here I put a list stored in a variable, and my variable was called nums. So for each number in my list of nums, then if I want to print the number as a string added concatenated with this exclamation mark. So obviously first we need to convert our number into a string in order to concatenate it, because we can't add a integer and a string together. So obviously we need to use the string method over here. Now, if the number is equal to 0, so again, I put an if statement in here. I want to print blast off, and I didn't add any else statements, so it doesn't really matter because it's only executing this and it doesn't have any conditions. Okay, so here, the reason I put for num in nums is because I'm trying to say, so for each element in this list, that is what our Python interpreter will understand. I want to print each number concatenated with this exclamation mark, okay? So it will, obviously, if you have a for loop, our Python interpreter will iterate through it and it will print it. So if we run this, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, blast off. Now, if I try to put in a parameter like 46, I get an error. So because it takes 0 positional arguments, but 1 was given, and we don't want any positional arguments. So this is our function over here. Now, on to our next section, called using args. Now, the first question, we had to write a function that joins together all the given args with and here we could use the join function method. Sorry. Now, if you didn't know what this method was, we could check out this website. So I'm not going to check it. I'm going to explain what it does. So what the join function does is it adds up multiple arguments, so it's best suited for functions with one string word. Okay, so here I put in def join stuff, and remember, if you want to define args, you want to put your one asterisk over here, okay, and then put in whatever parameter name you want, but in this case I'm just going to put args. And after that I want to put in print, and then here is my string word, and I put a space here so it wouldn't get mixed up. because if I didn't put a space here, you would see what will happen. And after I put my AND word, I wanted to join my AND word. I wanted my AND word to join all my arguments. So let's check it if we don't have the spaces. It says stuff and more stuff and even more stuff, and it doesn't look that clear. So let's put the spaces back again and then run this, and there you go, it's more clear. So as you can see, if you have function, it's way easier to write other functions. Okay, so after that we've got our second question, and here we need to write a function that returns the doubled sum of all the given arguments that the user inputs. Okay, so here we could use a sum function, and obviously this function will make the function we have to write even more easier. Okay, so here we had to write def, and I called my function sumfunc. So this function calculates the sum doubled. And then here I put in my args again with the asterisk, and all I need to do was return and then use the sum function and put in my arguments over here, so args in this case. So return the sum of my args times by 2, so an asterisk again if we want to times, and then our little 2 over here. Okay, so this is a very simple mathematical function. So if we check it, obviously 40 plus 60 is 100, and 100 plus 30 is 130, and if we double that, we get 260. So if I put in some different numbers, so I'm going to put in 50, 60, and 90. If you calculate this, so again, all of these numbers together will equal 200, and if we double that, we get 400. Okay, so you can see just how simple it is to make functions if you have other functions in handy. So here in our next section, we were using quarks, and this question was a little bit complex. So here we had to write a function that pieced together a sentence using the user's quarks. So it depending if certain quarks are in the list of the user's input parameters. So what I'm trying to say here is, so if there are certain quarks in the user's list of input parameters, then I want to execute a condition. Okay, so here what I put in for my example, so my input was sentence maker because that was my function, and I put in these two keyword arguments or quarks, and here this was the expected output. I like orange juice and my favorite fruit is apple. So here it was actually very simple. All we need to do was use if, elif, and else statements, f string, or the dot format method, and indexing. Now here again, I define my function, sentence maker, and I put in 2 asterisks and then quarks because obviously you need to define quarks using 2 asterisks. Now here I said if the keywords juice and fruit are in the user's list of quarks or keyword arguments, so if these two are in the user's list of keyword arguments, then I want to print, and then I use the f-string method over here, I like, and then I mapped to quarks, and in quarks I went to the keyword argument juice, and here in this f-string method, when it's executed, our Python interpreter will print down the value of this keyword argument juice. And then after that I need to put the word juice so they know it's juice, and my favorite fruit is, and then again it will map to quarks and then map to the value of fruit, and then it will print out my fruit value, and then here I need to put in my full stop. So if I run this and put in and if I put in a different type of juice, so if I say lemon, and then I put in my favorite fruit is blackberry. Whoops, I like lemon juice and my favorite fruit is blackberry. Now if I took away one of these, it wouldn't run anything because I need the keyword argument fruit and juice, not fruit or juice, fruit and juice. So let's just keep this here again. So I'm going to say my fruit is equal to blackberry. Okay, so see, it's a bit like concatenating, but it's much more easier with the F string method. Now here, this was our challenge, so it was optional if you could use args and quarks together. So here is very similar to this function, and we used it in the previous video when we did args and quarks, but I thought I'd use it for explanation now. And here I defined my function. I just called it my func because I didn't know what to call it. And here I put in my args first and then my quarks. And again, I said if fruit and juice are in my keyword arguments, this time I put two statements. So I said print I like, and then I use a join function over here for my arguments to join all my arguments, and then I put and my favorite fruit is, and then it mapped to quarks and then to the value of fruit and printed that out for us. And then here I said may I have some, and then it mapped to quarks and then mapped to juice and printed out that value of juice. And then here it says juice, and then I put in my else statement here, but then I put pass because I didn't know what to put, and an else statement was compulsory in this situation. So if we run this, I like eggs and spam, so these are my args, and my favorite fruit is cherries, so the value of this keyword argument fruit. And then I wrote, may I have some orange juice? So if we took away one of these arguments, we will see what will happen. So let me just take this away and then run this. May I have some eggs and my favorite? I like eggs and my favorite fruit is cherries. So it didn't change. So the sentence still made sense. Okay. So if we put this again, this time I'm gonna put in ice cream, and then I'm gonna change this around a bit. So I like chips, ice cream, and then for fruit, I'm going to put in an orange. And then for juice, I'm going to put in apple. Okay, so I like chips and ice cream, and my favorite fruit is orange. May I have some apple juice? So let me just. So may I have some apple juice? Okay, so that was the whole functions assessment. And actually, if you start to think about it, this was actually really easy if you just use all those very simple functions. Okay, so great job, guys, if you finished the assessment and you managed to do this part as well. And I guess that's the end of this video. Bye.